Go do it.
Welcome, guys, to the Lightforge Arena tier list, Mean Streets of Gadgetzan, I guess, valuation or like introduction to the meta. This is going to all be recorded at once. We're actually live right now on Twitch and recording this for YouTube, so we're not going to have too much chat interaction. We're not going to edit this, so it's all going to be done in one take. And we're going to try to do this as fast as absolutely possible. This is 2 days. If you watch part 1 of this video series where I analyze the meta, this is now 2 days after that, and we've had a little more time to absorb everything. And if you look behind me and Merps here, I'm ADWCTA, by the way, and that's Merps. Wave.
Hi, I'm Merps.
We are the Grinning Goat, and we do this tier list as well as a podcast by the same name of the Lightforge. And we stream and we do all sorts of random stuff for Hearthstone Arena. Okay, so this website behind us is our website, and it has a tier list. And you can see that the cards for the Mean Streets of Gadgetzan are already in. This is not the live server. This is a internal test server. So if you are watching this live, you cannot find this tier list right now. You won't be allowed the access. But, you know, here we have our nice little Gadgetzan command, which turns on and off the showing the Gadgetzan cards, the highlights. Okay, anyway, we're going to get started with just a recap of the themes that have been going on in this. And it's going to be, these themes are going to appear so often that I have actually created like text for them. So the first theme for the Mean Streets of Gadgetzan is no 2-drops. There's going to be no 2-drops except for one common 2-drop, which is the Friendly Bartender. And this is it. So this is by far the lowest 2-drops ever. You're going to struggle to get 2-drops. If you are a class without a lot of like class 2-drops, you're going to get like a quarter of your games without even being offered 6 2-drops that are a croc or better. So that's the thing with 2-drops. And the other thing we did, if you're watching from the previous video, is we recentered the tier list because we added all these new cards in. And it turns out, I know I said there wasn't power creep, but there was a little bit of power creep actually, because there was a lot of like good cards and better than average cards. So in order to recenter everything on 50, this tier list has an absolute 0. Every 1 point is worth 1 point, no matter what mana cost you're on, no matter what class you're on, no matter what rarity you're at. Everything is kind of on a string. And so we can move things pretty easily. And so we recentered this tier list at 50, which means that a lot of the values I was talking about from the last tier list are no longer the same values. Yeti used to be a 56, it's a 55 now. It's not like everything went down by 1 point, it went down by like 1.4 points or something like that. And it's being centered. So different cards lost and gained different amounts of points depending on how far away it was from the center. Okay, so Yeti is now I just want to set this up so you guys know what we're talking about when we're talking about these numbers, right? Like, even if you follow this tier list, once you recenter it, everything kind of shifts a little. But remember, the average card is always 50. The average card is always 50 no matter what we do to this tier list. So right now, there's actually only one card that's exactly 50 in the neutral category in the commons, and that is Dragonhawk Rider. This is the most average card in the entire game, according to our tier list. Anyway, what this means, just to bring you guys up on how we value things, is you have things like a Chowan Yeti, which is at a 55. You have things, and this is the point I was actually trying to get to, because I do have points sometimes. Bloodfen Raptor is still a 53. If you remember from the previous stream, and if you've been looking at this tier list before, Bloodfen Raptor has been a 53 for a while now. And what we did is we made it relatively higher compared to the Yeti because of something else I'm going to talk about. But what has dropped are all the 2-3s. And this is for the same reason, which is the 4-3 meta. The 4-3 meta is going to happen because of these two cards from the Mean Streets of Gadgetzan that we talked about before, Hired Gun and Toxic Sewer Ooze. And I'll ruin it right now and tell you, Hired Gun is the highest rated common neutral 3-drop in the entire game. It goes Hired Gun, Scarlet Crusader, same rating, but that's how good it is, and that's how it's going to affect the meta. People are going to draft it. Toxic Sewer Ooze is number 4, so it's still up there with the premiums. It's like, you know, right there with Harvest Golem, with Ogre Brew, with Spider Tank, Argent Horse Rider, Shattered Sun Cleric, right? What you think of as the premium drops. It is right there with them. So if you add 2-4-3s into the meta, that's going to shift everything because every single class is going to have access to these cards. And because it's shifting there, that's why Raptor is able to kind of rise a little relative to all the other cards, which dropped a little when we recentered it. What this is not good for is Croc, right? Because if you now have a card called Raptor and all the 3/2 stat distributions, and they're able to kill a 3-drop, a 4/3 no less, that's like a premium 3-drop, well, now you have a huge advantage on these cards. So what that means is that Croc is actually going to be significantly lower. Croc is a 51 now. So there's now a 2-point difference between Bloodfern Raptor and River Croc, whereas 2 days ago, there wasn't. And that's because of how the meta changed. The meta very significantly is going to shift, or how we're predicting it'll change, because of Hired Gun, because of Toxic Zero Ooze. Remember, they're neutral cards, common cards, everyone's going to have them, and they have an offering bonus of plus 100%, which is our assumption. That's not announced yet, but we'll find out soon enough. And if it's not, we'll very quickly change it. It will not be a difficult task for us. So anyway, that is the 4/3 meta. You're going to see this pop up a lot too, because a lot of things will be based on that. Now, on top of all that, in terms of substance of how the playstyle works, losing the board is going to be a thing in Karazhan and in the mean Streets of Gadgetzan and MSG, because a lot of the mechanics, like Jade, it starts out a bit slow. The goons buffing is like actually slow, and none of these are curve cards too, and you just saw there's not a lot of curve cards. And 3-drops aside, you have a lot of like 4-mana cards that sort of play on curve, right? You have all these like Tenaris Cogchopters and like Worgen Greasers. You have other things that are good, like Daring Reporter or like Kooky Chemist or Hosen Healer, but like, are they really 4-drops? Not really very good to be played on turn 4 exactly. So you're going to lose the board a lot more often than you did before. Between your class mechanics, even like the Cabal, right? Like, how are you going to get value out of all your board clears and removals and stuff? You got to be off the board. So you're going to lose the board whether you want to or not. Like, sometimes you'll purposely do it, sometimes it'll just happen because you can't curve the right way that you're used to. So losing the board will become a thing. And to go with that, we have a turn 8 push. This is a concept I'm going to start pushing with some of the cards. And what that means, the turn 8 push, is not that you have to push on turn 8 or there's anything special about turn 8, but turn 8, it could be turn 7, it could be turn 9. But this is around the time when you start to be able to play 2 cards every single turn, which means you can place a minion and then do something else. And that's very important because that's where a lot of like the cards that are engines, right? The cards that keep doing stuff, or the cards that are just not very good drops, but that are good in other ways, get played. And this expansion is chock full of these cards, and they will create a lot of extra tempo, a lot of extra value around these turns, which is when you win the game or you lose the game. At this point, it's when you get 3-4 extra tempo on the board. You can think about it as like multi-card Krakens, right? Like on Kraken on turn 9, all of a sudden you get like 2 extra tempo, 3 extra tempo, for no reason at all other than you played a Kraken. Now you're going to combine multiple cards in there. So why is this not like a turn 10 push? Because by turn 10, you've done this a couple turns, you're running out of cards, right? So most decks, your average mid-range deck, the push is happening on turn 8. And this is, like I said, this is where the games are won and lost in MSG. Won and lost. Before that, if you're in a faster meta, games are won and lost by like turn 4, right? Like one person curves out, one person doesn't, it's over. Now you can come back onto the board if you're not on the board, and oftentimes both of you won't be on the board, or you'll be doing like really strange stuff on the board. Like a lot of weird things are going to happen in the early curve turns. So it's not necessarily that there's going to be more turns in a game, but the game is going to be determined by a later turn on average, a much later turn on average than it used to be beforehand. So that's why we call it the turn 8 push. This is where the game is won and lost. And there'll be a lot of cards that fit this category, a lot more than there used to be. Okay, so now I'm going to throw it to Merps, and we're going to do this thing where Merps is going to start talking and bring up cards, and we're going to do the Cabal, we're going to do the Jade first. Jade first. This is called Jade. This video is called Jade. We will name this video Jade. And next will be Cabal, and then will be the Goons, and then we'll do a neutral card wrap-up. And we will cover Legendaries. I know I keep saying we're not going to cover Legendaries, but Merps is forcing me to cover Legendaries. We won't go in very...
We're at least going to say, here's the score, have fun, guys.
There we go. Okay, so what do you have anything to say about any of the other stuff, or do you want to introduce the Jade mechanic, or the Jade gang?
Let's get into it. All right, guys. So now we're getting into the real meat. I think sort of the preface of this video has finished up. So, all right, let's get to it. Part 2 of our 5-part video series. We're gonna get into the actual cards now. Let's talk about the the Jade cards. As you guys know, we don't need dramatic whispering in the background.
This is why it's unedited, so no one can edit it out when I do this stuff.
My God, it's terrible. We're so tired too. Please let this
we've been
go
working
well.
nonstop for like.
Please
weeks.
let this go well. Come on. Anyways, so as you guys know, if you've been following it at all, 3 gangs have been introduced this expansion, and all 3 gangs have either a common theme or a common mechanic, and every gang sort of includes 3 classes. So when we're talking about the Jade classes, we are talking about the Rogue, the Shaman, and the Druid, right? And as for any gang, there are sort of these tri-class cards as well as class cards specific to the class as well. So let's just talk about
if you don't know, a tri-class card is a card that all 3 classes of the gang has access to. It's like almost a class card, almost a neutral card in between zone. And it has been confirmed in the arena, the offering rate for those will be the same as class cards.
Yeah.
So which means it's double what it normally is. And it'll also get the offering bonus, of course, for the actual like set, like all the other cards in the set. Which we assume is plus 100%. If it is not plus 100%, we will very quickly adjust the values that are relevant to that to make it the actual correct percentage. But that's what Karazhan was, and I'm going by the fact that LOE was plus 50%, and then OG was plus 50%. So Karazhan was plus 100%, which should mean that the next large expansion, MSG, is going to be plus 100%.
Should be. And if it's not, a lot of this will be different.
If it's not, let's make this video again. No, we're not making this video again.
No, definitely not. All right, so let's talk about the mechanic or the theme for Jade. And the theme is going to be Jade Golems, right? So we can just pull up one of the tri-class cards while we sort of just introduce the Jade mechanic. Let's pull up Jade Spirit, right? So as you can see with the Jade Spirit card, it is a 4-mana, 2/3 minion that has battle cry, summon a Jade Golem. Now, before we specifically get into Jade Spirit, let's talk about the Jade Golem mechanic. The Jade Golem mechanic means whenever you have something that summons a Jade Golem, you first summon a 1/1. The next Jade Golem you summon becomes a 2/2. The next Jade Golem you summon becomes a 3/3. So it sort of builds upon itself. And this is the first sort of synergy that we see. Like I like to call it a network synergy, where every single Jade Golem card synergizes with every other Jade Golem card. So typically how you look at synergy is sort of a one-way synergy. So we can look at something like Houndmaster, right? Where you have a beast that receives the synergy and a Houndmaster that gives the synergy. So how do you define that synergy? Well, not only is it one way, it's sort of capped, right? Like after you give the synergy, it's done. You know, this thing is finished. You can't sort of like snowball off of that. So the Jade Golem, though, because this mechanic sort of increases, you get a +1/+1 on your next golem with everyone that you play. You can see that it really it's a very snowball kind of synergy. And it really is the first that we have seen. And this sort of synergy is highly tied with the offering bonus, because when you have a huge offering bonus, like the one that we're anticipating, it can really do some crazy things. Now, you can also look at it the other way and say that, well, once the offering rate goes away, we could have potential problems. But we're going to focus on, we're going to keep on going with the assumption that there is the 100% offering bonus, and see sort of how this network synergy works out. So let's talk first about...
if you want to think about the network synergy, something like Mech Warper, right? It's like a baby version of it, because you do have to play it on the board. Small. You have to like have the card in your hand, but it is something that can synergize with itself, and its effect is persistent. Jade Golem can play it at any time. So you may be thinking, oh yeah, on turn 4, I'm not going to have a Jade card before that, so it's just going to be a 2/3 with a 1/1. What a crappy card. It's a 48 on the tier list, which means it's only a tiny bit below average. Keep in mind, like, what's a 48 around here, right? Like, okay, fine. There are some terrible cards around here. There's Dragonly Mechanic. There's Burly Rockjaw Trog.
Yeah, I think Dragonly Mechanic is okay.
Yeah, I mean, Burly Rockjaw Trog is okay too. They're just like okay-ish cards. Look, they're only 2 points below average. You're going to take cards that are 2 points below average in your deck. You're not going to always get a card that's average, even if you have 3 shots at it. Sometimes you just like need a 4-drop or whatever. And Jade Spirit... and so Jade Spirit is going to capture that. Sorry, I'm being interrupted by people like messaging me. Okay, so just wanted to bring in the Mech Warper analogy to make it. So what I was saying is Jade Spirit is going to give you a 1/1, and it's not that good, but the next card gives you a 2/2. So you can't think of it as, oh, well, the next card's so much better. The Jade Spirit contributed to that. So you have to think about it in that way. Like, the Jade Spirit was part of the value, even if you played it early and it only gets a 1/1.
Yep.
Okay, so what's up next?
Oh, right. So, let us just go into these cards. Let's just talk about these cards. The format for these videos is always going to be, we're going to talk about the tri-class cards first, and then we're going to go into the specific classes. We've introduced the Jade Spirit. You guys see what it is. 4 mana, 2/3, Battlecry, summon a Jade Golem. Let's just get into the tier scores now.
Yeah, we just did Jade Spirit.
Oh, yeah, you did. Haha, right. And we're not editing this out. That's perfect. Next card, Lotus Agent. This is the rare card in the Jade Lotus gang, which is a 5 mana, 5/3 minion with a Battlecry, discover a Druid, Rogue, or Shaman card. And this is something that you'll see as sort of a mini theme within this expansion as well. Where you get to discover, not only do you have a discover mechanic, you're sort of finding cards from other classes. So you don't just share this common theme, you also sort of dip your, dip into the power of other classes as well.
Yeah, so don't make too big of a deal out of that. It's not all that important that you're taking cards from another class. This is Arena. Like, it really doesn't matter. I don't even know if it matters in Constructed. It probably doesn't. We're not Constructed players. But in Arena, it's just like getting a card. But the thing with class cards is that they're better than regular cards generally. Like, they're just flat out better. So discover a Druid, Rogue, or Shaman card is not discover a random card. It's something more like discover a card of your own class, or discover a card of your opponent's class, or discover a spell, right? It's something similar to that, and that makes it somewhat better. There's a post, if you want to look at, on the Arena HS subreddit by Tarot. It's an excellent post where he actually just delves super deep into what all these cards are. Into all the combinations of all the cards. It may have been reposted elsewhere too, but if you really want to look at the numbers or whatever. But just suffice to say, it's better than a regular Discover. And it is appropriately rated decently high. It is a 56. 56 is a lot higher than 50. It's actually, because it scales up pretty quickly, there's not that many cards above 56 even. If you look at, well, you can't really see this part of the tier list here, but if you just look at in 4-drops, right? Above 56 is stuff like Mech Yeti, Senjin, Defender of Argus, Darkar, and Dwarf. You're in elite territory if you're going above 56, right? 56 is 1 point higher than a Yeti. So these are very good cards. These are very, very good cards. And one thing that the Lotus Agents will do is that it will beat out an Azure Drake in value. That is huge. I know everybody has been on our case about how low we rate Azure Drake. Drawing a card from your deck is not as good as discovering a class card. It is not anywhere near as good as that. So that the Azure Drake could be a dragon, it could have this bonus spell damage, its stat distribution. I don't even know if for 5 mana a 4/4 is a better stat distribution than a 5/3 these days. But the overpowering nature of discover a class card makes Lotus Agent better than an Azure Drake.
Yeah,
I think that's the key.
Right, because if you think about it in this way, when you draw a card from your deck, you are basically drawing a card that you discovered in the draft, right? But with that, you are also including all of the neutral cards in there. Yes. And class cards, on average, are just better than neutral cards. So it's basically like you're redrafting that pick, but it's only class cards instead.
And whenever you discover a card, you no longer are looking for like 2 drops or 3 drops or 4 drops or anything. So all those cards are still in your deck, and there's actually a lot of it. That's like half your deck, right? Or like 2, 3, 4 drops. You're not gonna need any of them whenever you discover anything. So you can pick for size or you can pick for utility, and that's a very like high value that you don't get from just drawing a random card from your deck, even if the value is like similar. So you get a little bit more value because it's guaranteed to be a class card, but on top of that, you get the discover value. You get to pick up something for your situation. Even if there's like no situation, even if it's just like an empty board, your situation is you're in turn 8, right? Like, and on turn 8, you don't need a croc. It's just not what's gonna help you compared to like, I don't know, a core hound, right?
Yeah.
Like that you get to make these decisions. It's a large value.
Sometimes Core Hound is great. The only reason Core Hound is bad is because it's so expensive. But once you have the mana for it,
Hey,
and
Core Hound is a respectable 43 on our. Okay, that's not a very respectable score.
that's not very respectable.
One thing you'll notice is in this tier list, like the scores are all centered between like 60 and 40. Anything over like 65 is pretty premium. Anything over 70 is like ridiculously premium. Like we're in Rogue right now, so just to give you an idea, you have like stuff like Backstab's a 76 because it's like super premium, right? But something like a Swashbuckler is a 64. So that's 10 points below a Backstab, but it's still 10 points above a Yeti. And remember, this is 1-to-1 numbers. So that's actually how much value it has more than the Yeti with an absolute 0. So a Swashbuckler would have something like almost 20% more value than a Yeti. You can look at it that way. Like everything is... Sometimes we fudge the numbers a bit if we like a card or hate a card, but that's like just a few cards. Like maybe like a few handfuls. For the most part, they're on a very good system that ties everything together. And if we were to change something, we'd do something like we change an assumption, right? We say like, oh, you know, I think in this meta it's easier to have like minions on the board, right? Or like in this meta it's easier to play off the board, something like that.
Yep. So after this, there is the legendary, and we're going to spend the appropriate amount of time on it. Aya Blackpaw.
Okay, so this is a tri-card legendary. Remember, these cards all the Jade classes have. So that's Rogue, that's Shaman, and that is Druid.
Yep. Aya Blackpaw, 6 mana, 5/3, Battle Cry, and Death Rattle, summon a Jade Golem. What's the score?
Aya Blackpaw is a 67. It is a very good card. Well, okay, I'll rephrase it. It's a 67 in Rogue. Because it is a very good card in Rogue.
Right.
Something you'll notice is that just because it has a mechanic like Jade Golem, it doesn't mean it's created equal in all the classes. Some classes have better Jade cards than others, so some classes it'll be rated higher. We'll look at Aya Black Claw in Druid. Never mind, it is still a 67, which means that it was not done correctly. I will have to make that change later. This is why we're recording live. But yeah, the Druid score will be lower than this. This is the Rogue score.
Yeah. Anyways, now that we're talking about Rogue, let's move on to the Rogue. So Rogue is one of the 3 classes that is included within the Jade Lotus gang. And the way that we're going to structure these discussions is we're going to talk about the common cards first, and then just move up the rarity chain. And we're going to sort of take a pause right after we talk about the common cards, and just sort of see what impact will this have, right? Because if we're assuming offering bonus, then the class really will be heavily shaped by the common class cards.
Yes.
Because it will be offered at
4
an
times.
extremely... Yeah,
4 times
times
that you
the
see
amount.
a Yeti. You will see these cards.
Yes. So let's dig in and see.
God, that used to mean so much more than it means right now. 4 times more than a Yeti. These days,
we
it's
shouldn't
like
even use the Yeti anymore.
No, we gotta use the Yeti. We gotta use
I
The
know,
Yeti.
just
for
but
the old
still.
school. Like Trump would kill us if we stopped using a Yeti.
I'm sure he really cares about this. All right, so let's go to Rogue. First card, and a card worthy of hype, is a 2 mana common Rogue spell, Jade Shuriken, which is deal 2 damage and combo summon a Jade Golem.
Do you see this? Do you see this? It's the second highest rated card, than common class card in Rogue. You have Backstab, and then you have Jade Shuriken. Eviscerate's even 2 points lower.
So, what's the score for this?
It is a 75.
75.
It is
that
a
is
75.
insane.
What's even higher than this? Perdition's Blade's a little higher than this. Dark Iron Skulker's obviously higher than this. It's kind of that's it when it comes to Rogue.
So Jade Shuriken is like, if we want to sort of look at the effect, right? Like, you want initiative. Initiative is really premium in the arena. Let's compare it to another premium removal that the rogue has, which is an eviscerate, right? Same mana cost. The base effect is exactly the same. You deal 2 damage. It's just you get something extra when you combo it, right? So eviscerate, when you combo it, you get 2 extra damage. Jade Shuriken, when you combo it, you summon a Jade Golem. Now, remember what we said about the Jade Golem mechanic. It basically gets better and better the more cards you have. So if you have 3 of these cards, you know, it's pretty good. 4 becomes a lot better. 5, like, it just gets like exponentially.
I remember
better.
you're taking this card every time it comes up, so you're gonna have like 2 of these. Like, remember when Firelands Portal was a thing? That had a plus 100% offering bonus, and you basically took it whenever you got it. You didn't even take it whenever you got it. But that's what this is like. So imagine, instead of Fireland Portals in your deck as a mage, in Rogue you have Jade Shurikens. Shurikens.
Yeah.
Is it really Shuriken?
I think it's Shuriken.
All right, I'm going to say Shuriken, just to be different. So the
All
Jade
right, cool.
Shurikens will just infest your deck. And
We're probably
then
both wrong.
you will have so many Jade Golems. That's not to mention the other Jade card we were talking about, like the Jade Spirit, which at 48, you'll still take, you know, and being offered so often, right? You'll take like 1 of them, maybe like a 0.75 of them.
Right.
And it all adds up.
Yeah. So go on.
No, go for it.
I want to just basically move on.
Yep, that's what I wanted to do too.
Yeah. Next card is the another. So a lot of these classes have 2 Jade cards, right, within their common pool. The next card is a 2-mana 1/1 minion called a Jade Swarmer. It's got stealth and also has a death rattle, which summons a Jade Golem.
Yep. And this is where you get to see how highly because Jade Shuriken, you're like, yeah, I know it's a good card. Like, what does 75 even mean? It's super premium? Sure. This is a card you'll probably look at and think, I don't know, it's okay, right? Because you're looking at it and you're thinking, it's a 1/1, and it summons a 1/1 with a death rattle. Sure, it has stealth, but it's basically like an Argent Squire here with stealth. Like, is it worth 2 mana? Maybe, but it's not all that great. But if you're thinking about the Jade mechanic, and you're thinking you already have like at least 2 Jade Shurikens in your deck, and then you have like maybe 1 Jade Spirit, well, now, how many Jade Swarmers are you going to add to that? You're going to see it as often as a Jade Shuriken, so you could have like 2 of them. Maybe you have 1, maybe you have 2 of them. It is rated a 60, which is insanely high for a 2-drop. It's insanely high for most cards that don't do much. But it is where Flame Juggler is. It is where, like, it is above an Armani Berserker. It is above a Mad Bomber. Like, it's not as good of a 2-drop as these guys, but remember, the value you get comes later. So if you play a Jade Swarmer, even on turn 2, right? Like, let's say you're against, like, I don't know, a Raptor or something. It's, like, playable. And if you need, like, extra chip damage, you have a Dagger. And then on turn 4 or something, you play a 2-drop and then you Jade Shuriken. And then on turn 6 or turn 8, how about that turn 8 push? You play another card that has a Jade Golem. Now, all of a sudden, you have this 3/3 Jade Golem that should have been a 1/1, right?
Right. So one interesting way that I actually look at a card like the Jade Swarmer is based on the amount of Jade Golems that you have in your deck. So like the Jade Golem that you summon, it's almost as if it's an RNG minion from like a 1/1 to, let's say, like a 6/6. But it's what that
RNG at all.
No, it's not RNG. It's like it has a range, but you just know what the
which makes it good.
Exactly. So, like when you play on turn 2, yes, you know you're guaranteed that 1/1 essentially. When you play it on, let's say, turn 8, you know, like you talked about in your example, suddenly at that point you're getting like the 5/5, right, or perhaps even higher if you just drafted a ton of these. So it's one of these cards in which, and on turn 2, is a 1/1 with a death rattle of 1/1 like really that bad? For Rogue, that's really like, like you
It's
definitely want chip
doable.
damage as Rogue. Yeah. So this is one of those cards that not only is good value, it just plays into the Rogue's win condition that it already has, right?
Hmm.
Like the Shuriken and the Jade Swarmer, they both help Rogues play the way that Rogues want to play, which
Yeah.
is really important.
And let's go back to our themes, right? What does this card help you do if you play it on turn 2? Helps you lose the board. What do you need to do on turn 2? You could dagger, but there are no 2-drops, right? So you may just play this on turn 2 if you, instead of daggering, because you want to set it up, right? You want to set up your Jade Shuriken later. So, getting back to the themes. This one card hits like 3 of the 4 themes in MSG. Okay. Next.
Shadow Rager, all the memes,
Oh,
guys.
Shadow Rager. Okay, so Shadow Rager is very meme friendly, and what that means is people like really just took a shit all over this card as soon as it was revealed. Because like there's some constructed thing where they needed to make Rogue better, and this card's apparently not viable constructed. I'm here to tell you that's all bullshit when it comes to the arena. This is a freaking amazing card in the arena. This is rated a 50, which doesn't sound amazing. And okay, I'm not comparing to the Jade Shuriken, but it is a 50. It is like 1 point lower than a River Croc. You're going to take this card. You're going to take, like, you take River Crocs. You're pretty happy with them. You're not like,
Oh yeah.
oh man, the
Yeah.
River Croc's winning me the game. But you're like, all right, I needed a 2-drop. I got a River Croc. I'm good. That's what a Shadow Rager is. You need a 3-drop. You got a Shadow Rager. You're good. It has the ability to trade up to a Yeti.
Definitely.
You can't overemphasize how important that is.
I mean, look, Shadow Rager, it definitely has sort of the downside the Twisted Worgen also has, right?
Mhm.
Which is any AoE or any sort of like chip damage, like Mad Bomber kills it, but
Mhm.
it has the upside of just always being able to trade up,
Yep.
right?
And
Like
Twisted Worgen's a 54 because 1, 2-drops are more important than 3-drops, and 2, you're like less vulnerable, right? Like
right,
it only
you're not
takes
going
3
so
attack
all in.
away. You're not taking 5 attack away if it gets screwed over.
Right.
But it has the same concept. Like the Shadow Rager goes one step further, right? Like Twisted Worgen can take care of your 4-3 when it comes down. 4-3 is good, but if it doesn't come out, you can just hang out with it, right? Like Shadow Rager can take care of your Yeti. If instead your opponent plays 2-2-drops or like something else that you just don't like, you don't have to do anything. You can just like keep it there, take some face damage. It's not
Yep.
ideal, right? But it happens. And if you were in another situation, let's say you had played a spider tank and your opponent played a Yeti, what are you gonna do? You're just gonna lose a card. It's gonna be total crap. You wish it was stealth. It's a
All
card I
right.
feel very strongly about. I feel very strongly that this card is okay-ish.
All right. So I think that basically wraps it up for the comments. Let's just like take a look back and see what effect this will have on the rogue, right? Like they got small minions, which rogue likes. They got initiative. So overall, rogues are going to be quite strong. Like
Very strong.
rogue, we talked about how much potential there is within the Jade Golem mechanic, and rogue utilizes it perfectly. They have a spell like with a Jade Golem effect. They have a small minion with a Jade Golem effect, and once again, all 3 cards, all 3 common cards, play in the way that Rogue wants to play. And we'll see later on that some classes, although they got some good cards, it takes them out of their game plan a little bit. So Rogue is definitely a winner in terms of the common.
Huge winner, unexpected winner too, for this because it's one of the good classes, and Blizzard's looking to balance stuff. So Priest got a lot of good cards, but one other thing they did with Rogue that we're gonna just touch on because they're actually neutral cards, and neutral's our last video because we did it backwards because we felt like it. This is actually, if you look for Rogue, this is like one of the best 4-drops. It's like right below Evil Heckler and Piloted Shredder. It's above Dark Iron Dwarf. It is a Naga Corsair. It's a 4-mana, 5/4 Pyre with the battlecry. Give your weapon +1 attack. You can always have a weapon as the rogue. So it's just good. It's just a good card. You remember when there was that Auto Barber card and how that was a good card? This is like an Auto Barber, but like you can't do like insane early game like combos with it. You can only do mid game combos with it. But still, right? Like it's a pretty damn good card for Rogue. And it's a neutral card, but it does have the offering bonus, so you'll see it. And the other card that you will see as the Rogue is... Oh, is that actually a rare? That is actually a rare. It is Small Time Buccaneer, which has +2 attack when you have a weapon equipped. You can always have a weapon equipped, right? Turn 1, play Small Time Buccaneer. Turn 2, play your weapon. All of a sudden, you just played a 1 mana 3/2 with no downside. And it's a pirate if you have those synergies. So this is actually a better card than Mistress of Mixtures, your standard 1 mana 2/2. Also new in this expansion. But just to show you like how much other benefits Rogue is getting. Where we're going to end up on this, I'll just spoil it for you guys right now, is that Rogue is going to be the best class. Maybe tied with Priest. But it's going to be the best class in this meta. It is going to be one of the 2 dominant classes in this meta for the reasons that Merps just kind of outlined. And you might be looking at it and also saying, well, the class card, like the value that they gain, like, yeah, sure, Jade Shuriken's really good, but the rest are not like terribly impressive. It doesn't have to be. The meta is in favor of the Rogue, and you have all these supporting neutral cards that all get the bonus. And remember, there's this thing called no 2-drops. And you know what Rogues don't need?
They never need 2-drops. Dagger up and win.
There we go.
That's it.
So Rogue, number 1. Okay, let's go rares. Let's go rares.
Let's go rares.
Rare cards? What rare cards exist for the Rogue?
The first card, Counterfeit Coin. It is just a rare coin. That is basically it.
I don't think we need
that much discussion. What's the score, man?
It's 34, which means nothing to you except that you should probably not take it because it seems really low.
Yeah. Obviously, there are synergies, potential, but yeah, it is half of an innervate.
It's below a target dummy. Let's put that in perspective here. It is below a target dummy, and target dummies are pretty good for Rogue actually.
It actually is,
because you need the taunt. You can use it to go phase. You can use it to take some damage. It also triggers your combos. Counterfeit Coin triggers your combos too, but the target dummy actually does more. Rogues need that like health and that like body on the board more than it actually needs an extra mana.
Right. So next card is Gadgetzan Ferryman. It is a 2 mana 2/3 minion that has combo. Return a friendly minion to your hand. So basically, another variant of Youthful Brewmaster, right? Except for
bad stat distribution.
With a not as favorable stat distribution. But for this one though, you can choose whether or not you bring something back into your hand sometimes because you're able to combo it or not combo it, right? You can play first or you can play second. At the same time, like sometimes you actually want to bring something back and you're not able to. It's kind of a wash in the end. And look, if this is the arena, you need 2-drops. Not as much with the Rogue, like we said, but you still need 2-drops. So this is very draftable. What's the score?
The score is a 55, which is the same as a Cut Purse, right below a Knife Juggler and a Crazed Alchemist, but that doesn't mean as much as when we compare it to the common cards, the common 2/3s, because remember, a Croc is a 51, so this is actually like 4 points above a Croc, which is serious. That's like a good amount above a Croc. It's better than a Bloodfin Raptor, even though it's a worse stat distribution. And Youthful Brewmaster is the same score as a Bloodfin Raptor. So like that combo, like the actual combo part of it changes a like half downside, half upside, probably downside kind of ability into pure upside. And that's actually a pretty useful ability. You can save minions, you can gain card advantage, you can re-trigger battle cries. Like, it's pretty important. And the thing with 2 mana like minions, especially 2 mana drops, they don't do a lot. Like the difference between a premium 2 mana drop, like let's say an Acidic Swamp Ooze, and a Raptor, like it's not that big. Destroy your opponent's weapon, only half of your opponents are going to have weapons. They're only going to have weapons like a third of the time. And destroying your weapon probably destroys only half of the weapon. So it doesn't do that much and it's highly conditional, but it's premium because it's a normally statted 2-drop that just has a bonus. And that's the same way that we look at Gadgetzan Ferryman.
Yep.
It just has a bonus, and you are in control of it, so this is actually a bonus.
Yep. So next card is another minion. It is a 4 mana 4/4 Shadow Sensei with Battlecry. Give a stealth minion +2/+2. What's the score for this one?
The score is a 52. It is barely above average, right where Violet Teacher is, above Ancient Shade, above Arcane Nullifier, above Armored Warhorse. Let's go to the commons to put it in better perspective. It's where a Lost Tall Strider is.
Right. So you can see that there is a huge upside to this card, right? +2/+2 is no joke. And whenever you buff a minion with initiative, that's a even more valuable +2/+2 than, let's say, giving the buff to itself, right? So it's really good. The problem is you still need stealth minions. You can obviously give it to a Jade Swarmer that, they have an offering bonus too, but on average, it is going to be tough to hit that sort of stealth synergy. And once again, remember, we talked about this is the 4/3 meta now. So whenever you are playing something with 4 health, it is always susceptible to trading down to their 3 drop. Or
and
trading
when that
down
happens, you lose the board. Hitting 2 points again. And the card's like good enough that you're going to take it. This is the problem, right? You could just think, well, why don't you just take Yetis? It's not like the offering rates for Yetis are going down by that much. It's going down by a little, but more importantly, these are like legitimately good cards that you want to use in your deck, right? Like +2/+2 on a stealth minion. You're a rogue. You have stealth minions. Like, you're going to want this card. You don't want it over a Yeti, but, like, over a lot of other cards, you'll want it. And so you'll have to play it. And sometimes you'll have to play it on turn 4. And then you just lose the board if your opponent has a 4/3 or a Yeti, which they're actually kind of going to have on a fairly frequent basis.
Yep.
So this is the dilemma.
So these are the rare cards. Kind of, a little bit disappointing rares, but like we said, the meta is going to be reshaped by the commons.
Yeah,
so
let's look at epics.
Yeah, let's blow through the epics and legendaries. So the epic cards, first one is another minion, 5 mana, 5/5 Lotus Assassin.
Coming in at a 52, which is the same as the other stealth guy.
Okay, yeah. So Lotus Assassin is stealth. Whenever it attacks and kills a minion, it gains stealth again. I'm actually a little bit surprised at that score. I thought it would be a little bit higher.
It would be a little bit higher? Well, you got to kill a minion, right? And then its stealth is. And then you need to unstealth it, and it probably dies the next turn.
Sure.
And that's assuming it doesn't get removed, and you still have to kill the first minion.
So what's the score of a Stranglethorn Tiger?
Score of a Stranglethorn Tiger. The score of a Stranglethorn Tiger is a 53. That's not right.
That is not right.
We need to redo this.
Indeed we do. That's like, I was actually looking at that. I'm like, yeah, see, that is, because this is, you don't obviously have no beast synergy. And this is a pure upside. So that is something that needs to be
I think I know the problem. I think we didn't give it the initial stealth bonus. I bet this is like not marked as like stealth. I'm almost certain that's what happened.
It would be much higher. If you guys don't know, we have changed to a mathematical formula. So it's not just us being like, well, how good is this card? There is actually math involved, and that's pretty scary when it comes to us.
Okay, so yeah, I'm almost sure the Lotus Assassin is the one that's moving up.
Yep, sounds good. Next card is the Lucky Dew Buccaneer. Is it actually pronounced Lucky Dew? Is it like Lucky Dough?
Yeah, you should not ask me about pronunciation.
Lucky Dew Buccaneer, 6 mana, 5/5 pirate, which has battle cry. If your weapon has at least 3 attack, gain +4/+4. So it would be a 9/9. Which is, similar to Draconid Crusher, similar to sort of Druid of the Fang. You're going to see quite a few cards in this expansion that have this effect, which is severely understated. But if you hit a condition, you are able to, get a lot of stats at the same time. So what's the score for this card?
This card is a 41 because your weapon is not going to have 3 attack all that often.
It's going to be pretty tough.
It's not that tough, right? Like, what do you have? You have, like, Squid Face, right? That gives you +2 attack.
Deadly Poison.
Deadly Poison.
Assassin's Blade.
Assassin's Blade, right?
But
there's one more.
Yeah.
I'm forgetting one. There's one more way to get +2.
You have Tinkers. You have Tinkers.
Okay.
And right.
Yeah.
But these weapon buffs, you can see, the cards that we're talking about, they're either not super premium or, even though they might be drafted fairly high, like Deadly Poison, you still have to hit that before you do this, right? So it's a little bit different than the Draconid Crusher, in which Draconid Crusher is a little bit out of your control. So this is a little bit more similar to Druid of the Fang, where you can set it up on your turn, right? You don't have to like push for face damage. It's more similar to Druid of the Fang, which you could set it up all in one turn if you wanted to. But at the same time, it is something that is going to be pretty tough to hit, and you really do not want a 6-mana 5/5.
Yep.
So, on to the legendary. It's Shaku the Collector. 3-mana, 2/3 with stealth. Whenever this attacks, add a random card to your hand from your opponent's class. What's the score for this one?
This is a 68, which makes it really good.
Yeah.
Like, better than a Zombie Chow. Better than a Piloted Shredder good.
Well, I mean, if you think of it in the way that, like you are almost guaranteed a card. Like all but guaranteed a card. At least one card.
Because you're going to attack something.
You're going to attack something. So remember, getting class cards is really good. And then once you attack, the opportunity to get a second attack in, if you get a second attack in, that is just super value. Like then the value becomes insane, right? And even if you just get one attack in, if it's just a basic like 2/3 stealth and then add a class card, add the opponent's class card into your hand, that's still really good.
That's already good, because you just paid 1 mana onto a Giblin Stalker in order to get a 1-turn delayed good card, right? Like a class card. Like you'll do that. You'll do that gladly. And then you have the chance to get more of this like additional card.
Yep. All right. So I think that wraps it up for Rogue.
Let's move on. Good class.
Good class.
Good class.
All right. Next, we are going to be talking about the Shaman. Shaman, which used to be a few expansions ago, like near the bottom, if not at the bottom of the arena totem pole, has climbed up. Yeah, has climbed up pretty high.
It's a Flamery Faceless. So before we like a couple days ago, I did a big revision of the system behind the tier list, and as part of it, like I asked people to come in and give comments, and one of the comments that came in was for Fireguard Destroyer, just to let you guys know, I am listening to all these comments, and I am like looking at how we're doing these cards, and it turned out I have been calculating random damage the way I calculate random removal, and like random stats the same way I calculate random removal in terms of the penalty it gets, because we give RNG cards penalties. Good players don't want RNG, so depending on the degree of the RNG, it gets modified by a certain modifier. And I was using the wrong variable. The wrong constant. This card went up by like 8 points on the tier list in the last like 2 hours because we caught that. And so thank you Reddit.
All right, so on to the Shaman.
And if you're watching this and you think a card looks weird, feel free to comment or contact us some way, and we'll take a look at it. Because remember, we just this is pretty new still, so there were definitely maybe one-off things or like things where we mess up like systematically something, right?
Yeah. All right, so the Shamans. Once again, let's take a look at the common class cards, which will really define the class for the next expansion. First card is a 4-mana spell called Call in the Finishers. Haha.
Really? That's where you're going to start with?
Well, look, I actually just start with the order that the Wikipedia has them in.
So the alphabet?
Yeah, basically. So Call in the Finishers, and I think we can dismiss this pretty quickly. What it does is it summons 4 1/1 Murlocs. Look, this is basically analogous to Stand Against Darkness, right? It's not great. Yes, there are some combos. You can back it up with a Flame Tongue. You can back it up with, just with random buffs. But it is...
It is what it is.
It is what it is. What's the score?
It's a 47, which is about where you think it is.
So, look, is it draftable?
There's nothing fancy going on here.
Sure. Yeah, it's draftable, but it's not going to be that good.
It's lower than a Jade Spirit. Take Jade Spirits over that, guys.
Well,
Don't be afraid of the Jade.
You should embrace the Jade because the next card is Jade and Lightning, which is another 4 mana spell for Shaman that doesn't have an overload.
Oh
Wow.
my god.
So 4 mana deals 4 damage. It can go face, remember, and it summons a Jade Golem. So a good comparison to this card would be Stormcrack, right? Stormcrack costs 2 mana, overloads 1, and effective 3 mana. It can only deal 4 damage to a minion, and it doesn't summon a Jade Golem. So basically, for 1 more mana than a Stormcrack, you can go face and you summon a Jade Golem. That's really worth it. And Stormcrack is already a really good card. So
yeah, Stormcrack's a 55.
Okay. Well, when I say really good card,
costed for what it does. I can't go face. Like you brought it up. You brought up all the issues. Jade Lightning is much better than a Stormcrack. It's not even in the same league. It's a 40. It's a 74.
Yeah.
Give you an idea of what is like around a 74. That makes it better than a Flame Wreath Faceless. That is how high we are on this Jade mechanic. It is 1 point higher than a Flame Wreath Faceless. Keep in mind, we're assuming 100% plus 100% offering rate to MSG cards.
If there's no offering rate,
yes,
it's very different.
Yes.
Yep.
And so, like, the instant that goes away, like, the Karazhan bonus went away after, like, a month. So if that happens, like, it's all in the system. It will automatically take away this bonus, and this card will drop like a rock to, like, better than a Stormcrack. But while the bonus is active, remember, Jade stacks. So it kind of builds upon itself. It's a network synergy. It's the first network synergy we've really seen. And so that makes it very powerful. Better than a Flame Wreath Faceless. Wow, better than a 4-mana 7/7. It is still worse than a Hex, worse than a Flame Tongue, worse than a Stormforge Axe, worse than Spirit Claws. We have Fire Elemental at a 70. And I know some people are asking about why Fire Elemental is so low. It seems to be like most people have it as like, one of the best Shaman card. But we have both in practice and in theory, the higher the mana cost, the more difficult it is to actually make an impact on the outcome of your game. Like, your game is oftentimes decided by then. And if you listen to statistics, you will see Fire Elementals do quite well, and then maybe it should be higher, but you also have to take into account ease of use. Yes, a 4-mana 7/7 seems easy to use, but that 2 overload actually makes it not like the easiest card to use. On the other hand, Fire Elemental, you just take care of something, right? It's like designed for you to mess up first. It's designed for you to like fall behind on the board or whatever.
Cleanup cards are always going to be really good. See Flame Strike.
Yep. And so, again, everything we're valuing is based on optimal play, which is actually, in theory, on a level higher than our play.
Yep. So, next card in the Shaman common cards is Jade Chieftain, a 7-mana 5/5. Wow.
So, speaking of high mana cards not making an impact, a Jade Chieftain is a 50, which is okay. And for a 7-mana card, it's pretty good. There are only 3 common 7-mana cards, common neutral 7-mana cards rated above it. It's the Kraken, the Bog Creeper, and the Stormwind Champion. Like, they're rated way above it. But still, it's like better than a Force Tag Max, better than a Captured Jormungar.
So, Jade Chieftain, part of the problem is you really need it to be at least a 3/3 in order to get value, right? Like, you need it to be at least a 3/3. And even then, if you're playing a big card, you really do need for it to be almost extra valuable, because you are committing so much of your turn to one card. So with Jade Chieftain, it's just a clunky card. It doesn't offer the sort of the flexibility and the options that like all of the other Jade cards that we've seen so far give you. So that's sort of what's really holding it back.
Like, what's good about this card is, like, in Constructed, you get these really big Jade Golems. Like, in Arena, you're not going to get... Like, if you saw Frodan stream introducing Jade mechanics, you see, like, 12, 13 Golems. It's not going to happen in the Arena. But if you get a 12/12 taunt, that's pretty insane. If you get a 3/3 taunt, that's a bear. So, like, the fact that it gives it taunt, it has a lot more meaning outside of the Arena context. But, like, generally speaking, it's like a card, right? Like, it is Jade.
It is a card, yes.
It's okay. But, like, really the Jade bonus is what's keeping it up. Like, it would be way lower than a 50 if the Jade Golem itself were not going to be as big as we think it's going to be.
Yep. All right, so those are the common cards. Let's take a step back and see how this will affect shamans in the arena. Really, it's just Jade Lightning, right? Jade Lightning is the one that is holding shamans together during this expansion.
Rogues have Jade Shuriken, Shamans have
Yeah,
Jade Lightning.
right.
They
The
both deal
problem
the
is,
same damage of their mana cost, and they both summon a Jade Golem.
the problem is shamans don't have a Jade Swarmer, right? And instead they have a Jade Chieftain, which is much, much worse. And Shadow Rager is also a much better option for rogues than Call in the Finishers is for Shaman.
Yep.
So Shamans, like Jade Lightning is going to sort of carry them for this set, but so removal is always premium. Like Jade Golem for Shaman is definitely going to be viable because of that.
Mm-hmm. There we go.
On to the rares. So, first rare card is I'm going to jokingly call it your favorite card because this is one that we had disagreements with. It's 2-mana spell, Devolve, which is transform all enemy minions into random ones that cost
If you
1
notice,
less.
when we had the disagreement, I thought it was like going to be really good, and now it's only just like slightly above average. And if you wonder why, it's because I had made an incorrect underlying assumption about RNG. I literally just took Evolve and flipped it. But that means that the RNG that was negatively affecting us is now negatively affecting the opponent's board. But that's not how RNG works. You factor in the RNG penalty because you don't want RNG no matter whose side it's on. Like giving your opponent's RNG is just as bad as giving yourself RNG because it could go either way, right? So I had to adjust for that, and that made a lot of difference when you take RNG and go from one way and move it to the other way.
So if you guys this is important. We make the tier list with the underlying assumption that you are a 75% win rate player, which makes you a really, really good player. And we're talking about a 75% win rate player playing all classes evenly as well. So you are like a god at the arena. You play almost perfectly, so that type of player despises RNG. That type of player uses RNG to his or her advantage, but does not like heavy RNG cards.
Because if you have an RNG and it's a coin flip, right? It gets rid of skill. You're like hurting yourself. But sometimes like RNG still works. It's not like all RNG cards are worthless, right? Even like Yogg-Saron's like a 40 or something. A Servant of Yogg-Saron. Just because like it's still a body. There's still a high percent chance that it does something useful. And you just have to deal with it.
Yep. So, what's the score for this?
Devolve is a 51. Like I said, just slightly above average now.
Oh, thank
Same
you
as a Croc.
so much. Fantastic. Loving it. Moving on to a card that I hope is extremely high, because it should be extremely high.
Sorry, it's 6 points. That's all we're giving it. It's half of an Ancient Watcher.
Jade Claws is another cheap weapon for shamans because they don't have enough of those. 2 mana for a 2 attack, 2 durability weapon with Battle Cry, summon a Jade Golem, overload 1. Essentially, Stormforge Axe, in which you get rid of the last durability or the last charge to get a Jade Golem. That is incredible.
You get a Jade Golem now.
Yeah, you get a Jade Golem now.
Not on the third charge that can happen 5 turns from now.
Right. So you're getting rid of the last charge of the Stormforge Axe, in which every turn that you don't use something, its value goes down.
Yep.
Right. So you get the Jade Golem now in exchange for that last durability, and
it works so well on the curve too.
Yes.
You know what a Stormforge Axe has a little bit of trouble with? Like Crocs, right? Like you play Crocs into Shaman over Bloodfriend Raptors precisely to avoid your Stormforge Axe. Well, now you get this 1/1 that just helps clean it up while you set up your later Jade Golems. Like it's stupidly like good on curve and whatever. The mathematical model behind it takes like curve and board states like very seriously into consideration. It basically like simulates a whole bunch of stuff, and it correctly gives a pretty big bonus for the fact that 1/1's coming out like right now.
Think of it this way, and this is a huge meta consideration. Because we're in the 4-3 meta, what are people going to do? They're going to draft 3 2s. When they drop their 3/2, because that is favorable, you Jade Claws them, and you get a 1/1. That is perfect against their 4/3 as well.
Oh, that's right.
So
That's right.
perfect.
Way to tie it back to the 4/3. And you know what?
I know.
There's no 2-drops either. Wow.
Oh, wow.
Wow. This
All
meta.
right.
We got it all, right? Like this is all we need for this meta. These four considerations. You learn them and you're like rolling to 12 wins.
You're good to go.
I don't think we need to say more about the Jade Claws. It is the best card released in this expansion. The best card.
This is, yeah.
Oh, well, okay. The best non-legendary card.
Sure.
I'll caveat
sure.
it. I don't even know if the legendary cards are better. I pay like very little attention to the legendary cards because they're like so difficult that I just like make sure that like I'm inputting it right. You know what? Let's look. What is Kazakus? Because Kazakus is the challenger, I think. What is Kazakus? I have to.
It's for the Cabal
For
classes.
the Cabal. Nope.
So-
Kazakus is only an 80.
Sad.
Very sad.
All right.
So therefore, so therefore we have this Jade Claws, definitely #1 card, highest rated card in the arena
Yes.
by 4 points too. If you wonder what this compares to, the answer is nothing. It's just like the best card Shaman has.
It's really good. And remember, guys, this is
There's no comparison to it. It's like on the top of everything.
remember that this is with the offering bonus as well.
Yes.
So,
Okay, it'll drop when the offering bonus is gone. Because we're talking
Right.
about it like it gets a 1/1 because we're thinking of it on curve, but like later on you get like a 3/3 with your weapon. Like, come on.
that's so sick.
And that's your 2-drop, giving
Yeah.
you a 3/3 and a weapon.
Yeah. Anyways, on to the next card. We've sort of heaped praise upon this card too much already. The next card is a 4-mana minion, a 4-mana 3/6 minion, Jinyu Water Speaker. It's got Battlecry, Restore 6 health, Overload 1, following a chain of many 4-mana minions with Overload.
Which is good, right? You 4 mana, you overload. You play another 4 mana that overloads for 2 this
Yeah.
time because it's a 7/7. And then you play another 4 mana that overloads. And then you end up having 6 mana the next turn to play your Fire Elemental.
Yeah, you actually needed one more to complete the 4-mana Overload chain.
There we
So,
go. And
fantastic.
this one, coincidentally, heals 6 health. What has 6 health?
Or what can be healed up to 6 health.
Oh, sorry. What can be healed up to 6 health? Flame Wreath Faceless. Fireguard Destroyer is not even that bad. It has 6 health. You can heal 5 of it. That still uses
Yeah.
way more of the Jinyu Water Speaker's healing abilities than you probably should for its value.
So what's the score?
It is a 59. It is
Very high. Yep.
And it should be. It is very
It's
high.
a great card. Yeah, it's a very good
It's still below Evil Heckler, but it is above stuff like the Hosen Healer, which is the neutral healer that we're going to get into, the 2/6 restore a minion to full health, as you might imagine it would be because it's a 3/6, and it basically restores a minion to full health.
And you can heal face. That's
And you can heal face
very
too.
important. Yes. Because face damage is not it's not the free to use resource like it was in the beginning of this game.
So yes, it overloads 1. It technically costs 5 mana, but like the difference between 2 and 6 health is so big. But yeah, it's better than a Yeti. Way better than a Yeti. Like,
Yeah.
well, okay, not way better than a Yeti, but significantly better than a Yeti.
Sure. All right, so those are the rare cards. Shaman definitely got 2 really good rare cards and 1 just insanely broken card because Shamans don't have insanely broken early game weapons. So
Moving on.
moving on, epic cards. First epic card is a 1-mana spell called Finders Keepers, which is discover a card with Overload and then Overload 1.
It is not 1 mana, unfortunately. You know how all
No.
these other cards, like Journey, like From Below, or like Tracking, or like the Druid one, you can just discover a card?
Right. Or like a Light in the Darkness finds a card, but for the 2
For 2
mana,
mana.
it gives it +1/+1.
Yeah, you get
So,
something from it.
You get something for the extra mana. So even though that's 2 mana, like you could just call it like a 1 mana, thing, and then you give it a 1 mana +1/+1 as well, which is perfectly on curve. This is a little bit unfortunate.
It's just,
But,
it's 1 mana overcosted. Like,
yeah,
what else
so
is there to
what's-
say about it? So let's not. Let's move on to the next one.
Well, what's the score? If you said it, I didn't catch it.
Oh, the Finders Keeper? It's a 43.
Yeah.
It's bad. It's significantly below average. You're not going to take it unless you get desperate.
Yep. So moving on to the Lotus Illusionist. This is such a cool card. 4 mana, 3/5 minion. After this minion attacks a hero, transform it into a random 6 cost minion. I want to know the score for this.
The score for this is a 51. It is a River Croc. Because 3/5s are actually decent in this meta, right? We have 4/3s, so we're doing okay here. But unfortunately, you'll want to kill the 4/3s. And that means you can't necessarily attack face on the first turn, but you really do want to attack face instead. Like, you're in this dilemma where a lot of the value of playing this card on curve kind of comes from, like, killing the 3-drop that's below it. But if you choose to kill the 3-drop that's below it, you don't get your random 6-cost minion. And if you get your random 6-cost minion, not only is that RNG, but it kind of takes another turn before you can attack with it. So
right.
It is all like everything is kind of delayed and bad, but you got to do it. Like you can't take its advantages, and its disadvantage, of course, is if your opponent has a 5/4, you're screwed. That's like the 3/5 disadvantage. So it has all the disadvantages of a 3/5, but it can't use its advantages, which is why that ability seems super overpowered.
Yeah, I think this is such an interesting card, right? Like, this is one of those cards which is not, it requires planning, it requires strategy, and I think it's sort of perfectly statted, like very deliberately statted for its ability, right? And we'll see. I could see this card, definitely moving up. I could see it perhaps moving down, but more likely moving up, depending on how it, how this actually plays out in game.
Random 6-mana minions suck, man.
Yeah, I mean,
this is the reason. If you look at Fireland's Portal, like, we've always hated on Fireland's Portal, it's a 72, which puts it 5 points below a Flame Strike, while most people think of it as equal. It's only 3 points above a Fireball. Like, Fireland's Portal does not get a lot of love from us. It is 1, 2, 3. There's 3 mage spells above or equal to it, right? And that's because that random 5-drop is really not worth that much. And the same with this random 6-drop. Don't let the 6 mana fool you. It's not really a 6-drop you're getting.
Right. So moving on to the legendary, we have White Eyes, 5 mana, 5/5 taunt. You are shuffling and Death Rattle, you shuffle the Storm Guardian into your deck, which is a 5 mana 10/10 with taunt.
So a 5 mana 5/5 taunt is good. Period.
Yes.
So without the shuffling thing.
So what's the score for this?
It's a 63. So the shuffling thing does actually matter, not because you're going to draw too frequently, but because if you do draw, like, think about the number of times you played an Ancient Shade and you took damage. It's like that. Only instead of taking damage, you win the game.
Right. No, sorry. I think that's a bad example because most people are like, no, I draw all the time, man. Like, obviously I draw that damage all the time.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You draw it all the time. You draw it more often than you'd think if you just shuffle one card in your deck.
Sure. No. But like, by that logic, I'm just saying people are gonna say, like, well, I'm gonna draw this every single freaking time then.
Well, that's what they can say. I will tell you the chances that they have of getting it are the same.
Right.
All right.
But yeah, this is going to be a good card. You are going to draft this.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. If you want to compare it, it's better than every single 5-mana common card. Like, and it sounds like it is. Like, there's no trickiness there.
Anyways,
that's Shaman.
Shaman.
There's one more class in Jade, right?
I think there is, but yeah, I guess we should.
I guess we should count it. Blizzard counts it?
I guess we should count it. All right, guys. So on to everyone's favorite nature-loving class, the Druid.
Oh, before we get there, how good is the Shaman?
It's going to be at least middle of the pack, right? Like, at least middle of the pack.
It's going to be, I think, exactly middle. I have it slotted at number 5.
Yeah. What I mean by my statement is, like, I find it hard to believe that they will go lower. Right. I can only see them moving up 1 or 2 spots. I find it hard to believe that they would move lower just because they have such powerful cards. And with the pace of the arena sort of changing to people missing a drop here or there, maybe slowing down a little bit, and then sort of like playing off the board a little bit more, this definitely favors the Shaman just a tad bit. So
This is
I
the
like
stuff
the
that
direction.
favors like Shaman, Priest, Paladin, just people that want to be on the board, right? Warlock, like things that want to be on the board are going to do well. Why? Because everyone's going to lose the board much more frequently.
Yep.
And so, especially if you don't have a mechanic to get on the board, like these classes generally lack, like you're getting a free pass here.
All right, guys. So we're moving on to the Druid. And part of the reason we are not so excited, I would just say it right now, we anticipate Druid being one of the worst classes in the coming expansion, with the possibility of being the worst.
See, Jade just goes everywhere, right? It's like 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3. You have like best class, you have like middle class, and you have bottom class. Just covering all the bases with Jade.
So let's get into the common cards that will shape the Druid for the next expansion.
It won't. You not drafting these cards is what's going to shape the Druid for the next expansion.
The first card is Mark of the Lotus, which is a 1-mana common spell, which is give your minions +1/+1. So
okay, you're going to draft this card.
you will draft this card. It is half the cost of a Power of the Wild, and it takes away one of the options, right?
It's 58. It's better than a Yeti.
Look, this is a really good tempo play, because if you hit it on one minion, you're just like, okay, well, I shouldn't have used a card on it, but it's what I should get for 1 mana. As long as you hit it on 2 minions, you have basically gotten more than you should.
Yep.
So with this small requirement of hitting 2 minions with this, you have gotten more than you, I guess, should have gotten for the mana cost.
Or if you put it on 1 minion and it lets you keep your minion alive while you kill another minion, that gets the value right there. Like, that becomes like a divine shield that increased your attack on the remaining minion. Like, there's just so many ways to do this. This is an amazing card.
Yep, very good card. Next, unfortunately, we move to Jade Blossom, which is a 3-mana spell.
Do you see how low I'm scrolling?
I do not. I can imagine. It says summon a Jade Golem and gain an empty mana crystal. So we talked about how great Jade Golems are, but if your Jade Golem cards are bad and you don't draft them, it basically, like, everything gets brought down.
Yeah.
Like, if your Jade Golem cards are good, everything gets brought down.
Druid has no Jade mechanic.
Druid basically has no Jade mechanic. Jade Blossom at 3 mana is extremely awkward. What makes Wild Growth sort of work is the fact that you are able to play on turn 2 and you are able to ramp up. That being able to capitalize on the ramp 1 turn earlier is extremely important.
Yep.
Now, if Druid had gotten other powerful Jade Golem spells or minions, this might be a different story. Like, because your Jade Golem would help out your future turns a lot more. But as of right now, Jade Blossom at an awkward 3 mana, gaining that empty mana crystal, and getting the Jade Golem that you probably will not be able to really capitalize on in the future, really bad card.
Yep. And what's worst about it is you don't gain an extra card.
Yeah.
That's probably the worst part about this. I think Ben Brode confirmed somewhere, or like someone confirmed by test playing it. Even if you play it on turn 10, you just get a Jade Golem. You don't get a card. Cards are better.
Yeah. That turn 10 plus 2, like 2/2 minion.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's Jade Blossom for you. Did we say the score?
The score is 36.
Appropriate.
And that's with the Jade bonus. Like,
Once
a
that goes
small
away.
Jade bonus, but a Jade bonus nonetheless. Once that goes away, this is dropping.
Right. Next
and if
card.
you notice, Wild Growth is only at 40. Like,
yeah.
Wild Growth is not all that great in the arena, and its score reflects that. But Jade Blossom is worse, even with the Jade meta happening.
Yes. So, next card is the Jade Behemoth. 6 mana, 3/6 taunt. With the battle cry, summon a Jade Golem. So,
all right. This card's a 51. It is a legit playable card.
It's playable.
It's not exciting. You know how the other classes have like this like amazing card that you're gonna pick that's a common. This is the amazing card you're gonna pick as a common as Druid, and it is a croc level of okayness.
Right. And the other, so Jade Lightning and Jade Shuriken are spells. Like, they have initiative. They deal damage, which is always going to be like initiative is always better than just a plain minion, right? Now the Jade Behemoth does taunt, so it does change the board slightly, but like the body is the exact same thing as a Fen Creeper, right? Fen Creeper is a passable card in the arena, but part of what makes it passable is the fact that coming out on turn 5, you rarely have something that can kill it in one hit, right? Jade Behemoth coming out on turn 6, like a 3/6 body coming out one turn later, it's really out of its league. And it summons a Jade Golem, but like we said, because of the fact that Druids do not have a good Jade Golem mechanic, it's probably going to be pretty weak. And yeah, you're basically just getting a lot less stats than you should get for something that costs this much. Yep.
Nothing more to say about that. So those are the 3 commons. Druid sucks. It's going to suck. It has no Jade mechanic. Don't pick Druid. If you have to pick Druid, don't pick Jade. Done. Rare cards.
Rare cards. Jade Idol. 1 mana rare spell which says choose 1, summon a Jade Golem, or shuffle 3 copies of this card into your deck. So it effectively says choose 1, summon a Jade Golem, summon a Jade Golem. Because you should never shuffle 3 copies of this card into your deck. Arena decks just don't work like this. It's 1 in a million that you're going to be able to capitalize on this cute play where you shuffle cards in, and you have like infinite cards and you have infinite Jade Golems. So it's a 1 mana summon a Jade Golem. How good is that? Well, because the rest of the Jade Golem cards are bad, this sort of gets brought down as well. What's the score?
It's a 40.
Yep.
This will just tell you how good like the Jade mechanic is if you just do a comparison. Jade Idol's a 40. It's basically a 1 mana 1/1. Like sometimes a 1 mana 2/2. Every now and then a 1 mana 3/3. And you can compare that to like Angry Chicken, which is basically a 1 mana 1/1, and that's a 26. So the fact that it's a Jade Golem is still getting a good amount of like respect here, right? Even if you don't have that Jade mechanic, like you may just end up with some Jade cards, even if you don't want to. And that'll make the Jade Idol better than just a 1 mana 1/1.
Yep.
And of course, if you're like running out of cards, you can make sure you never take fatigue damage. That was like apparently a big point in Constructed. I don't know. Literally, like I'm sure we should build in something that makes that like give these cards more points, but that is not factored in. So this card is even better than what we think it is.
Woohoo! Draft appropriately, guys. Next card is Vermin Sensei. 5 mana, 4/5 minion with Battlecry. Give a friendly beast +2/+2. This is your standard Druid card that, helps continue on the legacy of Beast Druid, right? You can look at Wild Walker, you can look at Menagerie Warden, and see that for, all the expansions so far, they've really tried to push this Beast Druid mechanic. What's the score?
It is a 50.
Pretty appropriate.
If you want to know what a Menagerie Warden is, you want to take a guess?
I have no idea. What is it?
Take a guess.
50?
It's a 50!
Fantastic.
It's lovely when you have a mathematical model and it just tells you exactly what you want to hear. Like, it's beautiful. You're like, well, that's about a 50. This is about a 50. All right, they're both 50.
Right.
But still, right, notably better than Druid of the Fang, because Druid of the Fang just blows itself up. These, buff the minion on the board, which gives it essentially, like, some kind of initiative. And Menagerie Warden creates a whole new minion.
Yep. But once again, you look at sort of the penalty for being higher mana and the fact that Menagerie Warden is even more understated, right? So you could see the progression of like Wild Walker to this, to Menagerie Warden. Next card is Celestial Dreamer. 3 mana, 3/3 with a Battlecry. If a friendly minion has 5 or more attack, gain +2/+2. Once again, this is a Druid of the Fang-esque card, right? You get sort of a decent, if slightly understated card, and then you get a huge boost if you are able to meet a requirement.
Yeah, so let's get this out of the way. You're probably not getting the boost on turn 3.
No, definitely not.
Because somehow Shadow Ranger is not a Druid card. Like, you could, like, it does kind of combo with a coin if you are able to do it and your opponent doesn't have anything with, like, Druid of the Flame or something, but it's just not going to happen. So it's a 3/3 when it comes to being played on curve. But then later on, when you are making the turn 8 push, you will get just 4 extra stats for nothing because you're going to drop it with something that has 5 attack.
Yep. So what's the score?
The score is a 55.
It's a good card.
Not very good on curve. What's a 3? I'm going to try to find a 3/3 card that doesn't do much for comparison. So a 3/3 card that doesn't do much, like, oh, I remember this. These are all like epic cards. You're like your pirate and your Murloc. It's 43 is a 3/3 that doesn't do much. So this card's a 55. That's quite a ways from a 43. And that's because this actual like +2/+2 stats is going to be triggered fairly frequently. And it's being triggered fairly frequently because we say this a lot. You rarely play cards on curve.
Yes.
Of the percentage of times you play a card, the chances that it will be played on curve is much lower than the chances that it won't be played on curve. This is especially true the lower the curve card you're mentioning is. And 3 is pretty low. So it's getting a lot more weighted on playing it later. And the later you play it, the more chances you have of making that it being there for the turn 8 push.
Yep. So rare cards for Druid, actually pretty decent, you know? Like
that's only because you have started with such low expectations.
I know. Well, like, you know, relative to the common cards, and sadly, man, Druid is gonna suffer a little bit in this expansion. But all right, well, maybe the epics will be the saving grace. They won't.
No.
But let's move on to the epics. First card that will
God.
shatter all hopes immediately is Pilfer Power, which is 3 mana spell.
Wait, this is before Lunar Visions? This is not alphabetical, or did you just like change the order here?
It's not. I think they do it by mana.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
So Pilfer Power is 3 mana. Gain an empty mana crystal for each friendly minion.
Note, you do not draw cards with this, even if you are at 10 mana and you cannot gain any more mana crystals. There's just no consistency in this mechanic, and it's just screwing over the Druid right now. It is rated at 11, which makes it literally the worst card in Druid.
Yep.
Like, it's worse than an Ancient Watcher by 2 points.
It's really bad, guys. It's really bad.
Don't pick it, ever.
Don't pick it. Just don't do it. All right. Lunar Visions. 5 mana spell, once again. Draw 2 cards. Minions drawn cost 2 less.
Okay, so this is one you can take.
It's one that you probably will take a decent number of times. So draw 2 cards. What is the most standard one? Arcane Intellect, right? Mm-hmm. Which is 3 mana. You draw 2 cards. This one, it costs 2 more mana, but for each minion that you draw, it costs 2 less. You're going to draw at least 1 minion. This is the arena. Most of your deck is going to be minion-based. So,
and if you're not playing this on turn 5, you could probably play the minion on the same turn.
Right. So the minion that you draw is going to be, discounted. And if you draw 2 minions, I mean, you just got a huge mana discount. So this is a pretty good card. What's the score?
The score is a 52.
Yep.
It's definitely pickable. It's above average. Yeah. I don't think there's anything tricky about it. Just know that you can play it outside of turn 5. And that's probably the better time to play it, not on turn 5.
And the Druid Legendary is Kun the Forgotten King. This is one that got severely hyped up during the initial reveal. 10 mana, 7/7. Choose one, gain 10 armor, or refresh your mana crystals.
Yeah.
What's the score?
So you know what we were talking about, the turn 8 push? Maybe a turn 10 push for the Druid if you have this card. Maybe just hold on a little bit. It's a 73. It's the same as a Kel'Thuzad or a Yasharaj. It's good. It's really good. Because it's a free 7/7. I don't know how else to put it. And on top of that, the gain 10 armor is not nothing. There will be times where you actually just need to live. Yeah. And 10 armor is a lot, and you still get a 7/7.
No, it's very true. The choose one is actually very significant. Yeah. The score will be, I don't know how much lower, but somewhat lower if it didn't have the 10 armor. Yeah. Anyways, that's Druid. The Druid is just going to be in a very sad place because they are by far the weakest Jade class.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I don't know if it's going to be the worst class, but it's definitely in the bottom tier.
Yep. All right, so that sort of wraps up the Jade mechanic and the Jade classes, which are the Rogue, Shaman, and the Druid. I think that about wraps it up for...
This was a long video. The next one will be shorter because we don't have to introduce anything. We're just going to jump to it. All right.
Yep.
See you guys in the next video. This is part 2. Part 3, we're going to go into the Cabal, which is Mage, which is Priest, which is Warlock. Stay tuned if you're watching this on YouTube, and we'll see you in a bit.